Okay, this is the first episode of what I think is a really exciting concept, and that's that hairdressers have the confidence of their clients and they therefore tell them everything because they're confident that it won't get outside. They actually end up being somewhat of a psychologist for many people, and that was my experience when I was a hairdresser many years ago. And it just occurred to me that many people outside of the hairdressing fraternity would love to hear the stories that their clients tell them when they're having their hair done, which is a particularly interesting time for a person because they're stripped of their facade and they are more amenable to conversation because the barrier is broken down by that process. Anyway, I hope you like these, and I hope you share and like this video so we can get support from both the hairdressing community, the broader community in general, and also the product companies to help support and sponsor the process of getting the footage and me being able to edit it, etc. So enjoy the very first video of Snip and Tell, and please tell everybody. It's a great idea.
Hello, I'm Antonio Sorge, k.a. Sorge. I've been a hairdresser for 40 years, and I've been very blessed with this industry taking me globally, as well as look after some beautiful clientele. I get a great enjoyment doing magnificent restyles and styling, but what really intrigues me the most, which is close to my heart, is my clients and listening to the relationships and their life stories. And with Snip and Tell, I want to share with you a few of those magical stories with you today. A crazy story I heard this week was a client shared with me about how he recently, his son really was intrigued about getting these latest Google cameras in the house. He goes, "No worries, Dad." So they bought them online. They installed them really easily. They got the apps organised on their phones, and the latest these cameras, they actually give you notification on their phone when anything goes past, especially a human, if a parcel comes or if a Uber comes or someone comes to the door. And anyway, this particular late evening, the son actually says, Dad, someone came to the front door with a parcel and they walked off. And he goes, "Are you sure?" He goes, just said it on my phone. He goes, "All right." So they went to the front and he went to his particular, it wasn't a parcel, it was actually a bag. And they got the bag and they picked it up and it was quite heavy and they walked inside with it. I opened it up. There was over $300,000 cash in the bag. Well, the neighbour, he thought was a bit dodgy. He didn't really think much about his life because he consumed a lot of like toys and a lot of liferatilia around the house, so he didn't really think much of it. And he goes, "Oh, it could be with the neighbours." He goes, "What do they do?" And the wife goes, "Don't touch it, he's ringing the police." So they rang the police. The police came very shortly after, and when they've retrieved, he goes, "We want you to put the money back where you found it." What they did, they grabbed the bag, they put it back where it was located, and before you know, the whole house became like a CSI. Mate, they had cops inside, they had put other cameras involved, they had people walking around the neighbourhood pretending they were dog walkers, some guy pretending he was a jogger, some person was, they organised like a evening a Domino's Pizza run coming through for the whole neighbourhood watching it, and later on that evening, the neighbour, which I perceived thought he was the person it was for, came across the road, knocks on the door. He goes, "Oh, you see my Uber Eats?" And he goes, No. And he goes, Yeah, it was this. He described it, and he goes, next minute, the police came, and it was like a massive rush for them. He was like, he goes, Sorge, you got no idea. He goes like 20 cops came out of nowhere and caught in cars, and a chopper came, and it was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so that's ongoing now with the investigation. And apparently, I had to look after his wife again yesterday, and said, oh yeah, they caught 8 people, and apparently it was a very, very big bust, and they consumed up to $8 million worth of amphetamines and other findings of who belonged to the other parties. So it was actually a very big bust. So yeah, it was huge. Amazing story when I was an apprentice, and I was a second year at the time, and I had to look after this magnificent Italian client, and he asked me to look after his hair personally as well on the day of his wedding day, and he was married, and he's getting married to a Greek, and he said he was getting hassled by the future in-laws because being Italian and Greek, not being the same religion, but he was going with it all because he loved her, which was great. Magnificent wedding, as celebration it was that day, because I was there that morning, and the groomsmen enjoyed the facilities of even breaking plates on the morning, because they sort of engaged the same sort of celebrations to make the merge nice and smooth and make it all nice and happy with both parties. And he came back and saw me a month later, and I said, how did it all go? Fantastic wedding. He goes, Sorge, you wouldn't believe me. He goes, I'm already separated. I said, but you've not married not even 6 weeks. I said, what's going down? He goes, oh mate, if I told you, you just wouldn't believe. He goes, my father-in-law was a crook. I said, what do you mean your father-in-law was a crook? He goes, well, we had a beautiful wedding day. We had a magnificent time. And what happened was that my father-in-law and my mother-in-law were organising payment for the reception and the band and just to type the loose ends at the end of the night at the very end. And when my dad had come and go and collect and put his share in, my father-in-law's envelope was gone. It was missing. The $10,000 cash he had in his envelope was no longer seen. And my mother-in-law checked, and the mother-in-law checked her purse, and my mum checked her bag, and I said, what's going on? He goes, I've lost the money. So the Greek father-in-law came being a bit of a hero, says, don't worry, I'll pay everything, no worries. So he did. So he tied all ends up. We went on a honeymoon, and as we came back, both families got together. We're having a beautiful lunch, and the videographer shared the whole 8 hours of video for us, saved on a VHS. So we were watching it while we were having our lunch, and as we're doing that, just celebrating our return from our honeymoon, opening bobs and bebs of our wedding and our presents, and the video, and then it showed clearly, because the video man had the camera stationed on the bridal table, and it showed clearly the Greek father-in-law coming behind the chair, going into the jacket which my father had behind the chair, going in, taking his envelope, put it in his jacket, and walked away. Well, mate, you see what happened in that family house that day. We had a riot. My dad punched him out. It was a fight full on, and we just broke up. That was it. That was the last time I saw my wife. We haven't seen her since. I said, what? So you think it's over? He goes, yeah, it's over. He goes, yeah, because he's a crook, because he just stilled the pride and the respect for my family. It was horrible. So yeah, that's what happens. That's what happened to that story. This story is very close to me, because this individual that I'm about to talk about he had a magnificent life story when it comes to himself in the industry, being a champion, and he was actually a very personal mentor of mine when I first started my craft being a hairdresser. And this particular hairdresser named Alf, I remember I first met him as an apprentice, and he came late on the competition floor, and the competition time limit is 50 minutes on a model, and he was literally 30 minutes late. So he had 20 minutes left on the time frame, and his model was late for him. And he grabbed his model, came in time, chucked him on the chair. Screw nails were going everywhere. He cut his hair in time, in perfection, blow dried it. He finished it on cue to the last second, and he actually won that competition. And mate, the other hairdressers in the audience and the other competitors were upset because he came in late and it was controversial, but he actually won the competition that day, which was great. And our journey, that was the first time I met him, and that got me intrigued to be a hairdresser as well, being in competitions. And eventually I was very fortunate to compete with him and also represent Australia also with him overseas. But sadly, he had a magnificent presence in the industry, in the sense of having a very large salon chain, and had a magnificent, really fantastic, strong skill set. Like one of the best hairdressers you ever seen. He was. I mean, and I'll say sadly, he was a hairdresser, and I'll tell you why at the very end. His skill set was one of the best cutters you ever came across, and he taught me a hell of a lot. And I was very fortunate to compete with him, and I was also very fortunate he mentored me and helped me win my first world championships too. And that's why it's very close to me, and I'm sad he's not here with us anymore. He sadly went to the underbelly side of life, we got told. And Alf sadly was found shot in the head in Malaga, stumped over in his wheelchair, in his steering wheel, one early morning. And still today, they don't know who did it. It's a cold case. It's a cold case. And I'm really saddened because he was a very, very magnificent hairdresser, and he was a top bloke. And God bless him. God bless him.